by the time you get to Constantine, who I don't think he knew what he was doing, but I think he was somehow led to it because there's something that he created that was already created. And what he was trying to do was what Nimrod did at Babel. Is he created a government.
The mystery religion. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. It's a little bit different than that. He created a government that was ran by religion, that was framed with religious thoughts. In other words, your government and your actions within the government was framed within your religious beliefs, and that was the mystery religion of Babylon.
But isn't that Judaism though? If you look at Israel, what it is, or what it's supposed to be.
True. Okay. So what people will tell you all the time, we're talking about all the misinterpretations and all this stuff. The argument they're going to come back with, you say, well, the Jewish people do the same thing.
Right.
But what they don't understand is that the authority and the revelation that happened at Mount Sinai, the Jewish people was giving the understanding and the wisdom at Mount Sinai and the command by God to do so. So they're creating their government and their religious understanding from the word of God, as God is never spoke before to an entire nation of people. Okay. And the giving of the Torah at Mount Sinai that he did, and to believe in that revelation and to believe in that is the foundation of the Jewish, the government, their entire belief system is based upon this. And it has been taught from Mount Sinai, from Moses to Joshua and to the judges and to the prophets, and from master to teacher in a living transmission. Once you move outside that living transmission, you end up with what we see in the New Testament of an amalgamation of religious traditions and kind of all mixed around. It's got some Judaism, and you've got some paganism, and you've got some new traditions, and you've got some whole, new ways to do things. This whole idea, the Catholic Church, what's the idea of them baptizing a baby at birth? Where did they get that from? Where's this idea of giving a eulogy and the last rites, so to speak? It's because they were controlling the population from birth to death. How many babies were born in your area, and when were they born? The church had those records, so the king could know how many fighting men of fighting age he had. And that's why they kept up with why they passed. They knew who died. They knew who was born. They knew how many fighting men. They knew how many people to tax. They knew what was going on. So the church was a function of the government.
It was the logistics part of the government.
They kept up. Yes, they kept up with the census, and they kept up with this. That's fine. That's what they were doing.
Are you saying that's what Constantine came up with?
Yes, I'm thinking that.
But you're saying, like Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. He just used something that was already there, even though he didn't understand it. But since it already existed, what he did is he brought it back.
There could have been some understanding or something to where he understood Nimrod and what he was doing maybe better than we can give him credit for. And so he used that wisdom and that knowledge that he got from the Jewish text about Nimrod and the mystery religion that we just don't have a connection for. He could have done that, or he could have came up with it on his own, or, he could have been inspired from the backside to do so. I don't know how he came up with it, but the connection is there. Though.
That's a very interesting topic, because it does seem to fit the narrative of what we have today, and what was going on at that time. I don't think Constantine was no dummy. I don't believe you get to be a historic figure like he was, and just be a idiot savant, and just stumble on to something that big without being guided, like you're saying, whether it was the evil inclination guiding him, whether it was people around him, or his own wisdom and knowledge into that subject about Nimrod. It's a very interesting topic.
So I think that's where that all developed from, and it all evolved from there to control the masses and the peasants, and to control them for who? For the king. So the church was a, and it's kind of hard to figure out really who was in control of who. Was the king a tool of the church, or was the church a tool of the king?
That's the question.
So,